Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar, Digital Intelligence Platform Spring 2017 release. Before we get started, I just have a few housekeeping slides to go over. Today's webinar is going to be recorded, and you'll get a recording tomorrow morning. And make sure to ask any questions that you may have in the webinar control panel. We'll try to answer them within context if possible, but if not, we'll get to it at the end of the presentation. And of course, if we can't answer all the questions, we'll send you an email following up on any questions you have. Additionally, there's a brief survey. We always like to understand how we did, how the presentations went, and the presenters' enthusiasm and whatnot. So if you'd like to give some feedback to both Devin or Greg, please feel free. Moving on, we have Devin Cheevers, who's in product marketing here, and Greg Unrein, who's VP of product management here at New Relic. And they'll be going over the Spring 2017 release today. With that, I'll hand it over to Devin, and he'll get us started.
Jackson, thank you. To everyone that is joining us live or watching the replay, thank you for taking the time to learn more about some of the great releases we have this quarter from New Relic. I'm going to start with a brief introduction to New Relic and then a brief overview of what we've released this spring. Then I'm going to hand it off to Greg for an in-depth look at HealthMap, our new AWS Integrations, and the new Infrastructure SDK. I'll then review some of the additional updates that we have released this quarter. There's a lot of great stuff to go through. And like Jackson said, we'd love to hear your questions. It definitely helps the rest of the audience and ourselves when we hear your questions, even during the presentation. So please put those in the GoToMeeting control panel and we will answer them. So let's get started. Companies choose New Relic because our platform is easy, scalable, secure, and we deliver rapid time to value. Our goal is to be the first best place to look to understand your digital business. You can see here on the slide that we operate our services at an incredibly large scale. Over 1.5 billion events and metrics per minute, approximately 2,000 times larger than Twitter or Instagram, and certainly larger than any of our point solution competitors. This scale can give you confidence that we can grow with your business and be there with you on your biggest days. It also gives us an incredible wealth of data that we can use to train our platform to provide unique recommendations and better intelligence as we build out our intelligence platform. Really though, at the core of everything of what we do is our customers. And we're proud to have over 15,000 paying customers with us today. We have global enterprises such as Fortune 10 company GE. We have brands that you interact with every day like News Corporation and Dunkin' Donuts. And we have a wealth of disruptive organizations who are fundamentally changing their industries, like Airbnb, Tableau, and Major League Baseball. We believe there are 3 requirements to deliver amazing customer experiences through digital intelligence. Firstly, when you consider all the technology that goes into a digital experience for your customer, you have to be able to instrument and collect that data from every part of the chain reaction that occurs when a customer interacts with your website, your mobile app, or anything else in your digital surfaces. And you need full stack visibility to get that information to deliver a great experience. The second piece to this is this information has to be available to you on your biggest days. We call these days your digital moments of truth. It could be Black Friday, it could be Super Bowl Sunday. Whatever your biggest day for your company is, you need visibility into what's happening right then and there. Because these days often not only make or break your company, but they can be pretty different to a normal Tuesday. An example we have is one of our customers, Gannett, experienced an incredible surge to traffic to one of their properties, USA Today, during the recent election. They had over 170 deploys that night running Kubernetes and Docker, and New Relic was a critical part of their success in being able to handle that significant spike and running that new technology. Finally, you can see here on the slide, real-time analytics for everyone. And if the data and analysis isn't available to everyone on your team, to be able to consume it in real time, none of these other investments make sense. According to Gartner, the average APM deployment has only 2.3 users. With our focus on the ease of use and our analytics for everyone, customers like Adobe, GE, and News Corporation have hundreds of users running New Relic and using our dashboards. Here are two recent case studies from customers that have found a tremendous amount of value from the New Relic digital intelligence platform and our full stack visibility. REI, you can go check out this case study, and Todd Wilson talked about how the visibility that he got and his team got across their entire digital stack really helped them pinpoint errors in a new way, and the reliability improved significantly. In fact, they saw up to 20% performance improvements on their website and their mobile apps, and they saw a 50% reduction in production incidents. This was all while having an exponential growth in the number of deployments they were making. The second quote we have here is from Nassim, from one of our other customers in Europe, and really they were moving to DevOps, and New Relic really helped them being able to run that process better. They were able to demo the product at every sprint and use New Relic to demonstrate the performance and the quality of software for the product owner and the sponsor. You can find out more great case studies from New Relic and our customers on our website. So let's jump into what we're releasing in spring 2017. And the background to this is that teams are embracing DevOps. They're embracing the public cloud, and they need a scalable full stack monitoring platform with real-time analytics capabilities. And we went over the core tenets of digital intelligence, and these teams also need the ability to for one-click integrations with major cloud platforms, and they also need the ability to quickly instrument and query the full stack. And also, we're working on giving you more extensibility and control over things like alerts and agents. So the top three features that we're going to talk to you about today are HealthMap, our new AWS integrations, and our Infrastructure SDK. HealthMap gives you a combined view of your applications and your infrastructure health. Our AWS integrations expand that one-click integration with AWS and help you get more return on your cloud investment. And our New Relic Infrastructure SDK will allow you to extend your monitoring to nearly any custom on-host data source. We've also got some other fantastic updates that we'll mention briefly, and we'll have links for more details at the end of the webinar. These include great improvements to our customer experience products, mobile and browser, and synthetics. And we also have some great improvements to our dashboarding and querying functionality with insights, which we mentioned around real-time analytics. Alerts have seen improvements, and of course, our flagship APM product has seen significant improvements, including updates to our Node.js agent. If there's any questions from the team, from the audience, I'd love to hear them now. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Greg to talk about a deeper dive into our first feature with us, which is HealthMap.
Great, thanks, Devin, and hi everyone. Thanks for being here today. So as Devin said, we'll dive into HealthMap first, and I want to set up a little bit more detailed background on this particular feature and sort of what caused it to come into being. So at this point, we're living in a world where servers are now super ephemeral. They're instances, there's containers, and they are often created and destroyed in minutes. It's highly dynamic and automatic, and that can make it challenging to understand what's going on or what's actually running at any point in time, or even like right now. And then, of course, that's compounded by the growing adoption of microservices and the sort of decomposition of more monolithic architectures into more service-oriented and microservice-oriented architectures. So that's coming with a lot of benefits, right? The speed of innovation, the rate of change in response to your end customer demands for improved digital experiences and better engagement with your companies. But it comes, that speed and that decomposition comes with additional complexity, especially operational complexity, and sort of depending on the size of your organization, it gets even more difficult as your organization gets larger as well. So despite this, though, there's increasing need for improved service levels and quick recovery times when something doesn't go right. And a lot of this stuff sort of in a almost paradoxical way fits together to come together in a natural way. But operators today are finding it difficult to identify the failures and assess the impact of those failures in the context of what are the end results you're trying to achieve, because it's hard to get a holistic view of the entire system working together. And so, of course, that drives stress and frustration for the individuals involved in that. It drives sort of a lack of success with the end goals that you're trying to achieve as a business. And so, before I get to the actual demo, I just wanted to share a couple of quotes. We've had this feature under development for a while now, and we had, of course, an alpha and a beta. And during the beta, we actually came across a couple of customers that were either in the midst of or had actually built something like this for themselves based on the data that they were able to get through New Relic. And these are a couple of quotes from those folks that I think underscore the value of what this particular new feature provides. So let's pause here for a moment. I'm not going to read them. You can read them, and then we'll get right into the demo. All right. So what HealthMap provides. So basically, every minute of downtime impacts your business. The HealthMap is aimed at giving operations and DevOps teams a quick and easy ability to see what's going wrong at sort of now, and to isolate that down to the specific, spot the sick host is is an example of exactly what we're aiming at, but do that in the context. And often what we heard from customers during development was the context actually gave them confidence that everything else was good, even when, and sort of was a nice contrast background for what wasn't working at any particular point in time. We did this by combining the views you can get from an application level in the application layer and an infrastructure level, and we think that that combination is fairly unique and actually pretty difficult to achieve at the level of depth and fidelity that we've been able to put together here. So HealthMap is a cross-product feature that comes at the intersection of New Relic APM and New Relic infrastructure. So customers with both of those products can use this feature to do things like quickly find problems by viewing the health of what's going on, use the context to find noise neighbor problems and see problems that are maybe hiding outside of the averages and maybe even not being alerted on, although alerts are obviously a critical component of this. And before I jump right into the actual live demo, one of the interesting things that came out of the beta was how many customers wanted to put this on a wall, and I'll show you some of the ways we incorporated that into the feature so that it was a very useful experience in that way. So let's get right into the demonstration. I'll switch tabs here, put it into full screen. So first things first, and why didn't that go all the way to full screen? All right, well, we're just going to roll with it. What you're looking at here is his HealthMap, and HealthMap has several different views, and I'll go through each one of those views in a little bit of detail. In this particular view, what you're seeing is a set of what we call cards, and the cards are these blocks that you see, Doppelganger and Label Service and Alerting UI on down the list. Those cards in this view represent applications, and you can see application-oriented measures like apdex and throughput, error rate, and response time. And you can also see on a card-by-card basis the infrastructure that's running that particular service or application and the health of those things. And so as you roll through this, in this one single view, you can see the health of the applications or services, and it scales up. I'll show you a little bit of its responsiveness here shortly. It allows you to understand why a particular application or host is red. I'm going to pick on Doppelganger since it's up here and red. And if I hover, I end up seeing what are the violations that are driving its current state of redness, basically. And the same thing's true on yellow and whatnot. And then the same idea is there at the host level, so that I can roll over and hover on this particular host, and we can see which host it is. We can see what are the violations that it's living through right now, and I can click into that and dive deeper in. I'm not going to demo that, but you dive in to the rest of the New Relic user interface for either the infrastructure product or the APM product. So that's the set of data you're seeing. I mentioned responsiveness earlier. Right now you're seeing a grid of 4 by 3 with some a little bit left above the fold here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out in the browser just to show you what happens if you're at a higher resolution. You see how the cards sort of reorganize and the grid itself changes shape so you can get more density, and I'll put it back to normal. This is true whether you want to control that on a particular display and get the density the way you want it, or if, as you switch between devices, if you're using a tablet or a large desktop monitor, you're going to get a view that takes best advantage of that size and resolution. As I mentioned before, one of the things that came up during development was that folks really thought this was great to put up on a wall and have as that kind of view. Well, when that's the case, when you're using it in that particular kind of situation, some of the information's not as easy to read or as relevant, and so you can end up using settings here, like showing metrics. We can turn that off, and we end up with more density for that wallboard kind of view. And we can even go and turn off the other details that are in this view, and get to the point where we can see essentially just the application or service level view. You can see a lot of it at once. You can see just how much of our ecosystem here that's being represented in the demo is in an unhealthy state and how much of it is in a healthy state. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of confidence that comes with being able to see, oh, it's really only these 3 things that are showing signs of low health and probably some action needed. So that's the wallboard kind of view, and that's available by turning these on and off to get the view you want. One other thing I wanted to show here before moving on, actually 2 things. One, some of these apps, they are only on a few hosts and that supporting their workloads. Some of them I'm going to call out here. You've got the synthetics minions. These are devices out there running and testing with synthetic monitors around the world testing things, and you can see there's 593, and of course we're not going to show all 593 on the screen. We tried that in the development process, and the feedback we got consistently from users was that's not exactly what they need. What they need is prioritization of the health of these things, and so there's a really nice, simple, straightforward algorithm for putting the highest scale, least healthy things in the top left. So this doppelganger happens to be the least healthy, service at the moment. And then we've got these 2 that are in the yellow stage, and you can see they're ordered by scale, by number of hosts in this case. So we've got 4 and 3. If this synthetics minion cluster effectively was unhealthy for some reason, because of its scale, it would immediately go up to that top left and become very observable and very obvious that you needed to go take a look at that. So that's the view at the application layer. You can use New Relic's labels function to attach metadata to your applications and services. And so I'm going to go ahead and just show you briefly that you can filter this view down to one of those solutions. So here I'm picked environment production. It's going out requerying, and now it's pulling up. Before, we had over 1,000 services and applications available there, and a lot of our staging and that sort of thing. Here, what you're seeing is the items that have been labeled as in the environment production, and so it's a more refined view, a more focused view, so that teams and individuals can put together and focus on exactly what it is they want out of that, whether they're looking for a very broad view across lots of things, or maybe their domain is more specific, and so they've taken a thin slice through it. So that's just one of the views with HealthMap. Another one of the views, and you select the views and choose them over here on the left. So we've been looking at applications and related hosts. Another view is hosts and related applications. So this flips that same data set around, and puts the hosts first. And so each one of the cards now represents a host, or a cloud instance, a cloud host basically. And what's represented, the metrics change up to be more infrastructure oriented with load and CPU and memory. But a lot of the functionality is the same. The presentation is visually very much the same, but the emphasis is flipped. And so here we can see that there's this test server, and it has 5 applications running on it, one of which is red. So the host itself is having problems, and then there's a related application, happens to be that doppelganger application that we saw earlier. And so if your view of the world is more infrastructure oriented, you can end up doing this. And again, same kind of features and functions. You can show and hide the metrics. You can show and hide the hosts. And so that's one part. Now, one of the questions we got a lot with this feature was, what about containers? Like, how do containers fit into this view? And so I'm just going to show and highlight this staging Docker 7 host. You can see that it's running quite a few applications, and that there are quite a few hosts that are running some number of, between, 8 and 15 applications. I'm going to go ahead and show all on this guy and just sort of zoom into this one. And we can see that each one of these applications is running on this host. Well, each of those is running in at least one container, if not multiple instances of the same app in containers on this one host. And so that visibility surfaces based on what are the applications and services that are running within those containers on that particular host. So you can sort of get a view down all the way to that container level in that way. So similar to the application level view, you can also go in and filter in this host view. The filtering here is a little bit different than the applications. With applications, again, it was using labels. With the infrastructure product and with hosts, we have this concept called filter sets, and these are essentially saved filters where you can go in and say, I want a filter set that covers my, Cassandra databases that are running in AWS in this particular region. Like, you could create a filter set to get to that grouping. Well, you can use that for grouping and filtering. So I'm just going to pick the top one here, the top filter set, which is account DBs in prod. And so this filter set has 4 hosts in it. And worth calling out here, there are no applications in this particular cards, because those hosts, they're not running services or applications in the sense of application or microservice code. These are database hosts. These are hosts that are running database instances, and so you can click through and drill out to the infrastructure product. But similarly here, we've focused down to a much smaller subset if that's what we need to do. So finally, I'm going to show you one more view here, which is filter sets and related hosts. So same filter set concept, and instead of treating them as a filter where you can go in and say, show me my hosts by that, this actually shows you the set of hosts, the group of hosts that are related and sort of filtered down in that filter set. So we can go through and we see here's one that's a test filter, there's just one host, and it's red. And so that one's actually the one that's up in the top left, because it's the least healthy filter group, it looks like. And you can see the different kinds of groupings that are here, and some of them have large numbers of hosts, some of them have small numbers of hosts, and we show the health, again, very similarly for these sets of hosts, and allow you to drill into those subsets within the infrastructure product in this case. So I really want to ask for questions at this point, but I know we're not quite there yet. So let's see. We've done that. I want to wrap up with some customer quotes. And moving back to the slide deck, I want to wrap up with some customer quotes from customers who've started using this. And again, just have you read these. But these are a couple of customers that have been using HealthMap for a little while, and this is some of the value and their perspective on the feature. All right. So one last thing on HealthMap, and this should start playing. This is a video of the HealthMap feature in the New Relic mobile apps for iOS and Android. So you can actually get this functionality inside that app. It's been specialized because of the different interface basically to work well in mobile, and you can see a lot of the same data here, same kind of card concept, same kinds of views, filters. So you get this richness on your mobile device to take around with you as you're on the move, and we've optimized it for sort of that device profile and the potential, the use cases of why would you actually be looking at this on that device, where would you be, what kind of situations would you be in. So super exciting to check that out in the New Relic mobile application. So quick recap. Just touching on what we've covered with HealthMap. So we see HealthMap as this unique high-density view of the combination of application and infrastructure health in one place that allows you to see all of those apps and services and microservices, their health related to the health of the instances, so that you can see, is it the application that's having trouble? Is it a particular instance or set of instances? What kind of problem am I having, if I'm even having the problem? This is a combination of using New Relic APM and New Relic infrastructure together. So it's a fairly unique combination in terms of the data that's pulled together from a monitoring perspective. These are two perspectives that have classically been fairly separate. And we think we're doing the best job of pulling this kind of data together and putting it into an actionable, very useful kind of framework for your use. So I think here it'd be great to pause for questions. Are there any questions that we have so far that we could answer related to, in particular, health maps?
So Greg, the only question that I have here is, how does it support microservices and, for example, Docker, and is that supported?
Yeah, so that's supported. I think, you saw in the demo how a couple of different key points there. From the Docker perspective, you saw how those hosts that are running Docker and running those containers, they end up showing up still at the host level, but you're seeing the containerized applications and the data and health of those at an individual container level view. So from a container perspective, it's very centric around that kind of perspective. From a microservice perspective, what we found is really what you want to do is be able to see each one of those microservices independently and the infrastructure that's running it, and understand, is it healthy? Is the infrastructure running it healthy? But you also, once you start moving to microservices, you end up with a lot of services. You end up with, in many cases, hundreds of services. And so that's part of what drove the idea of doing this high density view, so that you could get more of that microservice ecosystem into view in one sort of pane of glass, if you will. And so all the adaptability around controlling that density and trying to get what level of resolution and what level of data and density you want, we made sure that was very configurable through both of those toggles that I showed around showing the metrics and showing the detailed host level information, as well as the ability to essentially be a responsive web app that allows you to, when you zoom in and out from the browser's control, you can end up with kind of the grid layout that works best for your particular ecosystem. And then finally, the filtering capability allows you to get in and, if you've got a team that has a set of services and they really just want to focus on their services, they can label their services and then filter down to that label and get the view that they want and sort of filter out what they would consider noise of the rest of the system. Whereas if you've got someone who's responsible for sort of that overarching the entire thing, if you've got an operations team that's, looking across all of that and really just needs to see what's going on holistically, they can run in the full unfiltered kind of view and support microservices in that way. Was it
okay? Yeah, I think you answered that sufficiently for sure.
Awesome.
We have a couple of questions here. I just want to note, anybody on the line, if y'all have any questions, please just submit them. And if you have more complex questions, you can also mention it, and I can get back to you via email. Or you can email me directly, Jackson, JACKSON @New Relic. First, there's a question here from Peter. What metrics are being used to determine the health of a host? all service metrics, or is there anything on the application side?
That's a great question. So the health of the host, as it's defined today, is actually configurable by you. And the way that you can configure that is through our alert system. So we're using the essentially alerting state of that entity as the trigger for, is it red or yellow or green? And so you can get in and control, what are the thresholds at which it's a healthy thing or a non-healthy thing, and essentially use the metrics that you want to use. If you have, out of the box, there's a specific, default set basically that comes, but you can configure that so that if you have a particular measure that you want to include, you can do that. That is all tied, though. I think part of your question is really like, can you take those application measures and sort of turn those into colors on the hosts? The way that data is working is when you're looking at an application, it's the overall application's health, is it alerting, and the individual host's health related to that application, but it's using more host metrics on those specific entities at the moment. But that's a great question. So yes, that's essentially what it is. If you'd like to dig into more details, happy to connect with you and dig in a little bit more detail and show you exactly what I'm talking about.
For sure. Thank you. And is HealthMap available for use now?
Oh yeah, it is. Sorry, I should have said that. HealthMap is available today. You need to be both an APM Pro and an Infrastructure Pro customer to be getting that view. It comes with the data that comes with those two subscription levels, and that's how you can access it today.
Okay, great. Again, just wanted to remind everybody on the call, if you have questions, even if we're not able to get to it today, I will be following up with you personally just to make sure that we get an answer for your question. Have another one here from Mike. Is it possible to nest containers within other containers? For example, a summary container for my Group 1 applications and a summary container for my Group 2 applications, etc.?
That's a great question. So one of the things we explored early on in the development of this was essentially how far to go down and how to make it sort of straightforward to configure and control those kinds of visualizations. And we decided to start more simple than that with what you see here. But we intend, as the feature evolves and grows, to put more control and configurability over the grouping. And nesting is one of the concepts that definitely has come up. It isn't something that's going to be a major focus in the very short term unless we see overwhelming customer feedback that's actually super important. And the reason for that is it seems to add a considerable level of complexity to using the feature. But it'd be great to get your feedback on, once you've used it, to understand exactly how that might be useful and sort of how you'd like to go about configuring such a nesting and set of groups.
Great. Yeah, Greg, let's move on here. I just want to be conscious of
Sure.
time. I know Devin has another little piece of the presentation here. Again, I want to mention, if we don't get to all the questions today, I will follow up via email. So please, let's continue.
All right, great. Thanks, Jackson. So next up is we have some new AWS integrations, so I'll roll right into those. And, we want the visibility you achieve, like Devin said at the beginning, to be as easy and seamless and simple as possible to get the time to value down as much as possible. And so the AWS integrations that we offer, they basically deploy with one click and pull together AWS data into the New Relic system so that you can see it alongside some of the other measures. You can see today we have, I think at this point, 20 with these additional 5. We have 20 integrations with different Amazon Web Services services, and the 5 new ones are billing and cost control. And so that gives you some idea of what's going on from a cost visibility standpoint. Kinesis Firehose, so you can understand what's going on from a data flow perspective and what's happening with your use of that service. with Elasticsearch, understanding sort of volumes of traffic and searches, and Route 53, similarly, understanding what's going on with your DNS, and then with the Elastic Container Service and registry, pulling in and understanding how many containers are you running, what's going on there. This helps drive more visibility into what's going on across your cloud usage. And I believe, let's see if I've got this here. Yeah, here we go. There's a specific webinar that will dive into these AWS integrations in a lot more detail coming up on June 27th. So if you're interested in deep diving there, please go and sign up at that URL, and we'll send this out afterwards, of course. The last thing we want to go into a little bit of detail on is the Infrastructure SDK. And with the Infrastructure SDK, it lets you view and evaluate the data from custom sources inside of New Relic infrastructure. And so an example of that would be, you've got a custom database that supports some critical business application, and you want to gain visibility into that right alongside the other on-host data that you're collecting through New Relic infrastructure on the hosts supporting that database. You can use the SDK to really easily extract metrics, inventory, or live state information about the configuration and operation of that, in this case, database, but it can be any kind of process or service, and then operational events, so you can understand what's happening with that particular entity over time. So this SDK exposes the full power of the data that surfaces in infrastructure in the same way we use the same SDK for doing the on-host integrations that we supply with the product itself and are evolving over time. And so that's a really fun, powerful way to go do it. And it's language agnostic, very straightforward to use. And again, we have a deeper dive webinar scheduled for July 11th that you can join if you're interested to see a deeper demo, look at it at the code level. What does it take to actually code and configure one of these integrations, and how does that then surface inside of the New Relic infrastructure UI and APIs? So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Devin.
Thanks, Greg. That was awesome. So I'm going to go briefly over some of the additional updates for this quarter, including updates to Synthetics, mobile, and browser. So the first update for Synthetics, we've announced 4 new public locations. These include Montreal in Canada, Mumbai in India, Seoul in South Korea, and an additional location in Columbus, Ohio in the US. So super fantastic. We've got a bunch of stuff that we released recently for Synthetics, and this is our continued investment. Part of that broader customer experience product suite, we have mobile and browser. So with mobile, we've made significant investments over the last 6 months into our crash reporting tool. It was best in class, 6 months ago, and with the release of crash analysis at FutureStack in November, and now our most recent announcement, which is this quarter, which is Crash Event Trail, we really believe that we're giving mobile teams the ability to fix those hard to diagnose edge case crashes. And so Crash Event Trail specifically will allow you to get a better sense of the events leading up to a crash. And we've gotten some great feedback from customers that this is a functionality that they're going to actually go back and look at some of those crashes that they were not able to fix. And more broadly, crash analysis allows you to prioritize the most impactful crashes. And you can find out more about that on our blog and from our FutureStack presentations. And this follow-up feature, Crash Event Trails, is a companion feature that will allow you then to better fix those crashes which you've prioritized based on their impact. So it's super fantastic. We know mobile is a big deal for a lot of our customers. We're really excited about the innovations there and the power of combining our mobile product with our insights and alerting products. So please check that out. Browser, we have an update there with domain conditions, and this is going to allow you to better control which domains you're collecting performance data on, giving you greater confidence in the accuracy and the insights you're getting. And this is one of the features that we're going to be rolling out, which I mentioned briefly, around giving you more control, administrative control, and more flexibility about how you use New Relic. We know for organizations that have a lot of websites or are at large scale, they're looking for greater power and control over their monitoring tools, and domain conditions is one of the features that we think will help you do that. New Relic APM is where we started. We're the best in the world at APM, and we've got a ton of great releases around APM all the time. HealthMap was our flagship release, but if you go to the release notes for any of our APM agents, you'll see an incredible amount of innovation. The feature that we're highlighting here is an update to our Node.js API. So essentially giving you better flexibility and enhanced API into the Node.js agent. Again, similar to domain conditions, similar to Infrastructure SDK, this theme of giving you more extensibility, but specific to Node. So for Node developers, please go and check out the release notes and our docs, and you can find out more information about how we're improving that agent. Insights is a critical product for us. It's the platform where you can query and build dashboards, and we're really excited about the innovations there. We've seen some fantastic innovation over the last 6 months as well. This update, this highlight, is some improvement to the querying power. So part of Insights is our query language, which is called NRQL, and it's very similar to SQL. It'll allow you to quickly investigate your data. And we've announced 2 new syntax features to that, which is rate and facet cases. Both these updates are going to give you better ability to understand your system, especially from a DevOps use case. Please check out the notes. We think they're really powerful features that we've seen a lot of demand for. And then finally, alerting. Alerting is a critical part of the feedback we've gotten over from customers over the last year. We know it's critical for how you run your operations, and we announced the general availability of NRQL alerts. And this just combines a number of pieces of the digital intelligence platform to give you more power and more precise signal on the sorts of alerts that you're getting. There are some fantastic blog posts out there from our product manager and our product marketing manager around NRQL alerts, with some great examples that show you the ability to create you can create nearly any sort of alert now with NRQL alerts. So we're super excited about that. We have a quote here from one of our customers in Europe, Brian Ayer and Declan, head of operations and infrastructure there. A quote just talking about how they use New Relic every day for a critical part of their business. In fact, Declan's quote was, "We used to be an airline that had a website, and now we're a website that has an airline." So again, some great material on Declan's use case and case study. We actually have a presentation from him on YouTube, and we have a case study. So I know that was a pretty whistle-stop tour through those updates, but we will have some more details on each of these on our blog and actually on our forum. So if you go and check out our forum, we'll have tech talks on each of these. And we've got 12 minutes. I'm going to wrap up real quick and then get to some more of your questions because I see a couple more here. So in summary, we're really focused on giving you the ability to manage your large and complex environments. That combined with our focus on supporting you as you move to the public cloud is represented by the HealthMap feature and AWS Integrations. We're also making it easier to extend our platform to give you better visibility into your overall system. The Infrastructure SDK is an example of that. We continue to make significant investments in all our products. It's actually, as you can see, it's hard to get through everything in an hour. And for example, browser synthetics and mobile world-class features for understanding your customer's experience have seen great innovation and great updates. And then our dashboarding, alerting, and data analysis tools with Insights and NRQL alerts are really going to give our operations and DevOps users the ability to better respond to incidents, build better alerts, and empower your team to better understand your systems. And that is our summary. Before I jump to the questions, a couple of follow-up action items that I think would be useful for everyone on the call. We have a page on our website, /what's new, which will give you all the details on these updates and link to the deeper dives. You can check out that page every quarter to see what we're releasing. We think our online community, we've got some great stuff on there for you to check out, some good investment there in terms of best practices and content. And then obviously you can go and ask questions there and you should get a response quickly. And then FutureStack, it's our flagship event. We have a global tour this year. And our next big event, we have one next week in Berlin, but our next sort of big event is actually in September in New York. Really excited about that, a 2-day event. Please go and check that out if you're interested. Will be tons of great content. And with that, I am going to hand it back to Jackson to go through some more of the questions we got from the audience.
Thanks, Devin. So I know want to be conscious of time and probably running up on lunch here for those on the Pacific region. Quick question about Azure integrations. Is there Azure integrations? Any plans for it? Tell us more about that.
Sure. Yeah, so there are definitely plans for Azure integrations, and stay tuned for upcoming launch announcements. But we definitely have Azure integrations in the works, and we're taking a fairly similar approach to what we did with the Amazon Web Services integrations. So from a feature function standpoint, you expect it to be fairly the same. And we'll be rolling those out incrementally, several services at a time as we build them out, starting with what we've had the most customer demand and seen the most market popularity with rolling out. So expect those. We've got them in the works now, and they won't be that much longer. I can't be more specific in this kind of venue, but yes, it's in the plans and underway.
Great. Okay. Looks like that's all the questions that we have at the moment. If anybody on the call is interested in more questions, had any follow-up questions, please feel free to email me personally, Jackson, JACKSON, @New Relic. As a reminder, we'll be sending out the webinar recording tomorrow morning. So you should see that in your inbox around 8 a.m. Pacific time. And you can also reply there if you'd like. So with that, I thank everybody for their attentiveness, and Devin and Greg for presenting. I really enjoyed it myself personally. And we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.